Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. I'm hoping that you're all well and getting the results you need through the people that you lead. Now, if you're here, you've obviously enjoyed the first couple of episodes and you've clicked further down, or it's on autoplay and you've not realised it's playing in the background. Either way, I'm hoping you're going to learn today around feedback. So, feedback is the second part of my big 5 of management. The first one is one-to-ones. And if you haven't had a listen to one-to-ones, please click onto the links and have a look at those. It's great 10 minutes of education. But feedback is a very important gift that us as managers and leaders really need. And in fact, in general, we need feedback because we want feedback to be able to improve. And as a manager, improvements and getting better is what it's all around. Because the world is very complicated. The world has lots of moving parts and you're not perfect. You'll never be perfect. But all you want to do is improve, making those small incremental improvements over time. And by doing that, you can become better and better at what you do. So what is feedback? Now, feedback is not constructive criticism. The idea is to criticize someone is not what I want people to be talking around. What we want to look at is getting constructive feedback to allow people to be better. So feedback in its own right must come from a place of caring. If you're going to give feedback, you want to make sure you're caring enough to give that person the feedback to improve or to receive feedback to get better. If you think that you know everything already, then you wouldn't be watching this show for a start, but also you're never going to be able to open up and learn. You may be an expert, you may be the best in the field, but you're never going to be perfect and you're always going to be able to improve because nothing is stationary. Everything is always moving. So you may be an expert 20 years ago, but in 20 years' time, things have changed. And if you don't learn and take feedback, you're never going to get any better. But let's look at the practical side of that. As I said at the beginning, all these shows are about being practical. So what is practical feedback? Well, there is a model. There is a feedback model that people use. Now, I've tried to use it, but I'll be honest, I don't use it all the time. But what I'll do is I'll go through the feedback model with you, and then you can have a think around how that works and how it would fit into your work as a manager. Now, feedback is built on our first principle of trust and one-to-ones. So you need to be in an environment where you're giving a trusted person information that they can take on board to get better. And vice versa, if you're receiving it, you want to be receiving it from someone who you trust. If you're just getting a person who is just telling you what they think you should do differently, you need to take that with a pinch of salt. But the feedback model looks something like this. You're in a position where you want to give feedback, and lots of time it's very easy to look at the negative. You want to give somebody feedback when they are doing something wrong. Now that's understandable because a lot of time that stands out more than the time they're doing wrong. But the first piece of advice I give you when you're doing feedbacks is to look for people doing things right and give them the feedback around the things that they've done well. Because of course in the future they'll be more open to receiving feedback about improvements if you've spotted times when they're doing things right. So let's look at what that looks like. So the first part of this, for the first month of all the feedbacks you're going to do, they're going to be positive with your directs. You're going to look for times when they're doing the right things and give them positive feedback. And if you're shouting at the screen, I already do that, well done. You're the first step on the way to get this right. So what do? Well, you tell that person, hi, X person, we'll call them John. Hi, John, can I give you some feedback? Sounds strange, doesn't it, at first when you say it? But you want to be saying to that person, can I give you the feedback? If that person says no, well, that's fine. You say, okay, no worries. Most of the time they don't. I don't think I've had anyone say no because we're humans and we're really interested in that word feedback. What do you mean, feedback? Can I give you some feedback? Now, you might hear someone going, why? What have I done something wrong? Of course, that means that they've been living in cultures that punish and not open up to the idea of proper, honest feedback. So you say to that person, can I give you some feedback? They go, yeah. You say, John, when you got your report in on time, that was absolutely brilliant. It made it so much easier for me to tell my directs how things were going, and they understand exactly how everything's running in the factory. Thanks for that. Let's continue next month. Wow. Brilliant. Simple. Within seconds, you've done it. John will probably say, oh, well, thanks for that. Yeah, no problem. Goes away. So again, looking at positive feedback. You build that trust up with those people. You get into the positive feedback and you're giving it most of the time, positive feedback, positive feedback. Now, obviously, there's times when things don't go to plan. And there's times where people need some correction to get better. So it looks very similar. But, of course, when you say, hi, John, can I give you some feedback? And John says yes, you're going to say something slightly different. You would say, John, when you are very much late to my meetings, and I mean you're coming in 5 minutes late, then it makes it really difficult for us to be flowing and make the meeting finish on time. Can you please be on time to our next meetings so it doesn't disturb the flow and we can get things done? I'm sure you can do that for me. Now, at this point, this is where you get that diversion. This is where you might get people who start going, oh, I'm only late because of, well, it's not my fault I'm late. I'm never that late. And that is the point where that's why you have to build that rapport over time to make sure people are understanding that this is from a place of improvement. So you get into the point when John hears that, he hopefully goes, yep, understand, Matt, totally sorry. I should be trying to get my time planned. What I'm doing is I'm booking too many meetings up towards yours. I'll move some things around and I can be on time for that. Thanks for the feedback. That's what you want to hear. You might not. You might get some pushback. And when you get pushback, you go, I'm not here to row with you, John. Just telling you what's happening. I'm giving you some feedback because I care and I want you to be better and improving. So that's the feedback that I'm going to give you. I want you to go away and have a think about how you can improve and see if he turns up on time for the next meeting. I'm sure he will. So as you can see, the feedback model is very, very clear. You say, can I give you some feedback? You give them the feedback and you give them either a praise or an improvement. That's a simple one. Now, in real terms, that's not what happens all the time because it's very formal. But feedback should become very much part of your day-to-day. If that's a cheers for staying back here and doing that, thanks for that. Well, when you're doing this, I'm not sure that works. However you want to word it, that is the joy of this the model. You can change that to whichever way you think is the best to make it fit to your way of doing it. But feedback is an absolute game changer when you get it right because people are open to it. They're expecting it. They know it's there to make them better. They know it's so that you can get the results and they can get the results and they take it on board. And you'll find people, when they do use a model and you're a leader giving it to them, they start using it with their directs and it starts to have this snowball effect of improving people. And that's really what you want to see when you're looking at good feedback models. And don't overcomplicate it. Don't fear it. We all fear the fact of giving negative feedback to people. But if you're coming from a position of wanting that person to be better, you're coming from the position of it's not a have a go at way, it's a I want you to improve way, then they can really see it. And if you've built good relationships, you're doing your one-to-ones and they know what kind of person you are as an effective and efficient leader, they'll understand completely how good it is for you to spend the time giving that individual feedback and not just letting them go down the road. Because the worst thing that happens when you don't do these corrections is it gets, especially on the negative, gets worse and worse and worse, and you get angry and you start having these negative thoughts about the individuals. Oh, if only they did that right. Why can't he turn up on time? Why is he always late? I mean, there is the very much, and I don't suggest you do this as a positive way, but people start locking doors in meetings. If they're a minute late, the door's locked and they're locked out. That'll teach them. Probably not, because individuals late and couldn't give a monkeys anyway. If you do it from a point of, I want you to be better and be on time so the meeting can be efficient and everyone gets the jobs done we need, much better way with professional people to do that. But it's not just professionals. You can use feedback across the piece. If you're just starting out in management, feedback to your directs is going to be a really key thing because you want them to do the jobs that they need to do. So if they're late back from breaks, it's a great opportunity to give feedback. If they're staying over without pay and doing the things, give them the feedback. All these things will build you as a manager and your team. Well, that's it for Manager Matt this week. But as ever, as I've just said, feedback is such a gift. So please put it in the comments below or send me an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com. As it's a gift, I will then open it, unwrap it, put it on the mantelpiece and celebrate it. But we can look at new and old topics and where you think the show can go. So please give us your feedback to managermattpodcast@gmail.com. Well, that's it for Manager Matt this week. Thanks for listening as ever. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.